Welcome to Issues of the Day, where we discuss key issues in the news. I am Nana Daneji, and joining me today are Mr. Adeni Randemola.
Hello.
And Mr. Rashid Onyegi.
Hello, viewers.
Okay, headlines for today's story. Lagos and Ogun Police Commands announced a joint security operation targeting kidnappers operating along the interstate corridor. The Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission warns fuel marketers against failing to reflect failing global crude oil prices in petrol prices. Public debate continues over First Lady Senator Oluremi Tinubu's remark encouraging Nigerians to consider small-scale businesses such as selling akara and kuli-kuli. Now on our first story. On Monday, 29th June 2026, the Lagos and Ogun State Police Command has announced a new joint security operation aimed at combating kidnapping and other violent crimes along the Lagos-Ogun corridor. The operation was unveiled during a security briefing at the Police Training College in Iperuremo, Ogun State. According to the two state police commands, the operation will focus on forest border communities and identified criminal flashpoints. Police authorities said the initiative followed directives from the Inspector General of Police and is intended to improve intelligence sharing and coordinated patrols between both commands. Now, I guess Ogun and Lagos has been like, should I say, a new settlement for all these kidnappings, and or should I say Ogun as well, right? Has been like a new place for all these kidnappings and banditry that has been happening. What additional measures should the security agencies adopt to reduce kidnapping across state borders?
I want to think this spilled into the conversation of state policing, where we will have to make policing a grassroots matter. Because if you look at it generally, the issue of insecurity in Nigeria, usually, particularly the large-scale one, usually happens in our states, in our rural areas. And the states are the constitutional government in charge of our rural areas. The conversation that, sitting between whether the federal government should be the one looking after internal security or rather than state governments, or whether local governments should have direct control over how it is being governed by itself, is part of the true federalism conversation that we've been having since 1999, when this democracy, came into play. So I think it's a good one. We are now going to have this kind of conversation across the country, where states have to collaborate. They have to, first of all, establish a local policing structure that permeates from the local government to the state capital. And then they now look at partnership across borders, which Lagos and Ogun seems to be doing. If you look at it in terms of proximity, Lagos Ogun is perhaps the most proximate state in Nigeria in terms of how they've overlapped. There are some areas of Lagos whereby you'll be in Ogun and you not know. Like where my dad built his country home, for example, is in that for local government. And it is like a bus ride, from Lagos to. In fact, I fly to Lagos and then use a bus to just cross into that border. So those two states have been looking at partnership even outside the security scope. They've been looking at economic conversation. They call them, they're looking at a mega states conversation here, where it includes economy, commerce, farming, that's agriculture, and what have you. So I think it's a good one, and it's a template for other states to follow. Mr. Nyogi?
Yeah, well, I agree with you completely, and that's not because I don't have something to say about it. You have said everything I needed to say, but Lagos and Ogun are becoming kind of a megalopolis, if you want to use that word. And those two states contains the largest concentration of Nigeria's industrial capacity. Lagos being the first, Ogun is fast becoming not hardly distinguishable from Lagos itself in terms of the build-up of industrial infrastructure in Nigeria, and that's because of their proximity both to each other and to the coast, to the main coast of Nigeria. So whatever happens in Lagos or whatever happens in Ogun State regarding insecurity is just a matter of time. It will affect Lagos State itself, because now people live in both places as if they are it's indistinguishable from each other. So it's good that they are now cooperating in terms of, and this points to the shape of things to come. There's really no way we can operate state police without that interjurisdictional cooperation between states. We may be wearing different uniforms, but now states will have greater power to not only make their laws, but to enforce it also without any reference to federal government. Though, however you may conceive the new state police amendment, it will involve federal supervision, because without it, we are looking for anarchy. So now that they are creating joint patrols at the operational level, this will go a long way to alleviate any intending criminality, I mean, that may want to use that place as a base. And there are lots of reasons why criminals will be attracted to places like Lagos and Ogun State. If they're after money, there are lots of money there. If they're after, people, the density of the population itself gives them a hiding place without even going to the rural areas. The rural insecurity is what we are dealing with mostly in Nigeria, because our police are adept at urban policing, but they are non-starters when it comes to rural policing. So that is being addressed because the cases of banditry have spiked, and it is important that something be done quickly and effectively also to stop it.
Okay, so how can these border communities actually support the law enforcement without, as in, putting themselves in risk?
Well, they have to become stakeholders in their own security, believe me. They are small enough to know who comes and goes into their communities. But if you don't give them a proper structure to relate to and pass this information to for action, there is no way that problems will not occur down the line. So the border communities are very, very important there. You can't move from one border community into another because of their small size, and you will not be detected. It's easy to disappear into the urban areas without being seen or known, but in the rural areas, it's a lot more difficult.
There's an agency called Border Community Development Agency. I want to know their role in this because, of course, we have so many communities in Nigeria, and these communities have borders too. Like this Lagos conversation we are having. This agency of the federal government, we want to know their role in this whole conversation of state policing and interstate collaboration. So yes, they should come out and issue out a communique or a paper to that effect, to let us know their role. Are they just agency based on with just empty shells without proper impact on what they are supposed to, on the communities that we have, or are they just collecting contract and stuff like that? So these agencies should come into play and see if they can actually coordinate this conversation in and around policing and insecurity in Nigeria.
Okay, thank you very much. On our second story, the Federal Competition and Consumer Protection Commission has warned operators in Nigeria's downstream petroleum sector against practices that could amount to the consumer exploitation. The Commission said its market surveillance found that petrol prices have not fallen significantly despite the sharp decline in international crude oil prices. Now, we recently had Dangote reduce the price of fuel and in the market, and we expected, even last time we spoke, we expected that the price of a fuel was going to drop, since his has also dropped, because now they're making more profit than they used to. Should market competitions alone determine the petrol price in a deregulated sector? My
viewpoint, no. No matter how well you couch capitalism, there should be a small thread held by the government, because if you allow the market, as they say in theory, to determine how prices or things go in the market in Nigeria, then there's going to be total chaos all over the place, because the capitalist is only there for profits. There's nothing socialist in their view, in their economic outlook. So I want to think government should come in a way, and that's why this agency, FCCPC, is having this conversation or coming up to tell us that they indeed wants to start looking at how this thing is being handled. How come that, the global price for petrol has reduced and we are still paying high amount of at the pumps. So for me it's a good one. On the flip side, I have to look at those doing business as well. Remember that when they want to buy this buy this crude, they buy it 3-4 months. They don't just buy for 1 month. They buy it 3-4 months, and the market is very volatile. So if you buy, for example, you buy maybe for 3 months supply 150 naira, for example, and by the time before you finish selling that amount, it has now reduced. You won't sell it at a loss. You won't sell it at a loss. You will want to recoup your money first. Maybe that's what these oil marketers and maybe Dangote refinery are looking at, which in a way makes sense. That's how you do business. But in the long term, the common man will be the one to groan. And I think one way or the other, and that's why this issue of subsidy is always delicate for me. At some point in time, if government wants to intervene, it has to be in a way to create a palliative for the common man, and that will go against the reforms of the current administration. So it's a 50-50 conversation, whereby you argue on the side of the consumers, which is us, and then at the same time you look at the business in the common sense of it.
Okay, so we have a social media question. I shouldn't say a question, it's a statement. People, or should I say viewers, are calling for the consumer protection to reduce, automatically reduce the price of fuel instead of warning
But that is not their mandate. That's not their mandate. You can't fix prices in a deregulated market. You let the market does. But what I think we are missing out in this whole petroleum industry arguments, because we will continue to go back and forth on the pricing of petroleum. What is important is that there should be no scarcity, because that will simply drive up the price more. Now, what people have been advocating for, and I for one support that idea, immediately the market is deregulated, the government should have started the making efforts to create a strategic reserve as a buffer against price volatility at times like we have just witnessed in the Strait of Hormuz. If we had that strategic reserve, some even oil producing states in the Gulf have some have strategy, like UAE, I think they have a strategic reserve of for 100 days. So they have enough fuel to supply their local market for 100 days if fuel supply should stop. We're supposed to have that. All these tank farms of erstwhile importers should have been converted into strategic reserves. Simply pay them to store petroleum. Government will have to go into the market itself. That's the only way we can control prices. They've been doing it for grains. We have a strategic grain reserve that the government taps into whenever we need to bring the price down. They will just release the grains into the market and the price will crash. Okay, we should do the same for petroleum, so that if we have, say, like 6 months strategic reserve now, the petrol price will not have gone up at all. You can consider as a kind of subsidy, but it's a reserve that we can dip into when times get hard. And things are going to the international environment is still very, very unstable.
It is.
You know, Iran and the US are still lobbing missiles at each other as we speak. They are talking peace. They are still fighting. Israel is likely to do something that will unravel all the gains that have been made in terms of peace. So, as a matter of urgency, the country, the government should begin to look at the feasibility of creating a massive strategic reserve of at least 6 months strategic reserve. That if Dangote stops producing refined fuel today, we will not feel it until 6 months after. And that's very, very important. And that's the only mechanism you can use to control price. If the marketers are not bringing down their price, just dump a few this thing in the market so that they will have to, reduce the price whether they like it or not. Otherwise, they won't sell.
Where the problem perhaps will now arise is how would the government now transport this reserve? Are they going to use the military, or they are going to use the same?
No, they use the normal mechanism.
Do you think
we pay you to drop this fuel in this tank and everything, and you store it, and the people owning the tank farms too will be paid for storage?
Yes, because I'm looking at the conversation around Pengason, Lupeng, and all those people. They usually go socialist, but this idea perhaps will even marry into their mandate, because they are more socialist than that's if they are not hijacked by politicians, of course.
But subsidy is finished and it's not coming back.
Apparently. Okay, thank you very much. On our last story, for more information, subscribe to Citizen TV on Facebook, Instagram, X, formerly known as Twitter and TikTok. On our last story, public discussions continued following the comments by Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, encouraging Nigerians to consider starting small businesses such as frying akara, producing kuli-kuli, and roasting corn. The remarks were made during an event of the Renewed Hope Initiative in Abuja, where the First Lady also highlighted government support through financial grants for small businesses. Following the comments, many Nigerians expressed different conversations, or should I say remarks, regarding this and the affordability of small businesses in Nigeria. Now, this has been making rounds, like on social media, so much so that I think it's one of the most, should I say, watched video on the internet right now. In Nigeria anyways. This is kind of a business. So I want to ask, how realistic is this comment of hers?
Is that directed to me or Mr. Onyogi?
Well, you have to look at it. You have to look at it. Even if the first lady didn't come in with her remarks, which a lot of people misinterpret, because I watched the video and she didn't actually say people should go into kuli-kuli business. She simply said that these businesses are not difficult to start, and she was addressing people who actually were not doing anything hitherto. But most people don't look at it that way. They simply said, why should she even think of suggesting? The fact of the matter is that we have people already selling kuli-kuli. We have people already frying akara for a living. And there are lots of people making serious money from this, because it's food, okay? And it's local. We love it. They say if you go to UK now, you buy 6 balls of akara for £3.50. If you convert that to Naira, you will never pay that much for akara in Nigeria.
Of course, yes.
So we know that akara is making the rounds, and you can really make good business with it. And I know a lot of people who actually made a lot of businesses. People say that even though they can send their children to school with it, what else do you want to do with money if not to take care of the needs that you have? Pay your children's school fees, pay house rent, buy car. You don't have to be a millionaire or a billionaire like Dangote to survive in Nigeria or anywhere for that matter. Your needs are actually quite limited. It's your investment that can really make you rich. Okay, I have houses that I'm renting out and stuff like that. Ultimately, you will live in one room, you sleep on one bed and eat. You will never eat past what your stomach can contain. So basically, your needs are very, very, it doesn't take much to satisfy a human needs. It is the extras, the things that make you feel like, okay, I can survive anything that comes tomorrow. The little bit of buffer. So people can and people do survive frying akara and making kuli-kuli for a living. Some people have even gone, completely corporate with it. There's one Bibas kuli-kuli from Niger State that if you see the package, I went to their website and they are selling one packet of 50-gram kuli-kuli for 2,000 naira. Imagine if I buy that and put in an event center doing an event, and some people are buying 10. I can make a lot of money there. The same thing, the only problem with that, there is a company that is actually making a akara mix. Just add water and fry. Okay, that's it. There's an ecosystem for those businesses. Small as they are, there's an ecosystem. People who are selling peppers, people who are selling onion, people who are selling groundnut oil or vegetable oil. If you look at it, if akara sellers don't exist, how will all those people make money? So they are sitting on top of an ecosystem. Now, I agree. Government should look into it and say, how do we improve this ecosystem? Turn them into, regular fast food joints with additions and stuff. People frying akara today are making pap and frying yam to boot. How do we encourage these people to bring them to improve their business? Then there are a class of Nigerians who are not skilled enough to work in the civil service, who didn't have education. These people need to be taken care of. And if they don't have a very good business acumen, you really have to start them up at somewhere, but give them hope. Give them, and this is exactly what the First Lady spoke to, give them hope that they can survive in an economy that is experiencing structural challenges like our own,
Okay.
So I really believe that we are just a lot of storm in a teacup.
Okay, so I mean, I want to look at it from two viewpoints. The first viewpoint is that I've not seen anybody within that demography, which I think the First Lady was addressing, come out to protest. That is not something they wouldn't want to do, or they wouldn't want to encourage people to do. It is people, or most of us, who are slightly above or who are above that situation that is reacting on their behalf. And that means we are using our own situation to judge other people's situation, which is a common thing in Nigeria. The general outrage is by the educated elites and not the people being addressed. In fact, I sent out some information on social media in reaction to that First Lady's position or advocacy, if I will call that, if I call it that. And my tweet was that I think the elites in Nigeria, or the middle class, will always use the plight of the poor to gain political traction, and we are emotional over people, that we don't really care for. What does the poor man who has not seen a meal, or the poor woman who has not seen a meal, or a poor widow, what kind of business do we think would immediately, within the environment where she lives, what kind of business do you think would be viable for them, if not the kind of business that thrives within that environment where they are, which is that you wake up in the morning, people who want to buy this small fast food on the road to eat. Where I have the problem with the First Lady was the fact that she did that in Abuja and not on the streets. You don't sit down in the comfort of Aso Villa and be advocating things like that. You need to be on the street to empathize or sympathize or show solidarity to the people who sells those things. And I've seen similar things, abroad, where the Prime Minister or the President goes on the street and speak to the people doing those business, relate with them, and then tell them about this, the hope and stuff like that. So I felt that on the one hand, we, the educated elite, are the one starting this storm in a teacup, and on the other hand, I think the First Lady should have graduated it down to the grassroots. Go and meet one particular First Lady in the state, or go and meet a local government wife of the local government chairman in a state, in one rural state in Nigeria, and then make that advocacy out. That will resonate better than sitting down in the comfort of Aso Rock to say this.
Okay. Unlike how Nigerians view people that sell akara and kuli-kuli as small business should I say, earners. We've had a survey talk to these people, and most of the people are earning close to 50,000 naira in a day. So I don't know. What do you think about such income compared to those of the corporate world?
So that means that means they're not
Exactly.
poor.
Like I said,
they are not poor. If you are earning, I mean, which office job is giving 50,000 naira a day?
They are still considered
low income
small
earners.
business.
Yes.
No, small businesses.
Yes,
we
they're
don't
not.
say low income
Yes.
again. We say small, medium businesses.
At the end of the day, sir, sorry, just to point out something again that is crucial. You see people within the middle class look down at that business and say, you know what, I'm going to make it something classy. And then they open a shop, they design the shop, make it fine in a high area, and then start selling the same thing.
See what they did with Amala. Now everybody wants to eat
Amala. So this kind of thing is, that's the reason why I'm thinking that, like I said, the optics may be wrong in terms of where the first lady was saying this and to whom, the audience, immediate audience that she had in front of her. But the general idea of what she's trying to do is nothing new to us. Most of us were the children of petty traders who our parents eked out living to nurture into what we are today. So why are we pretending as if that thing is not, what is happening? But of course, like I said, if you do it in the place of opulence where you are talking in the villa, there's AC, there's everywhere, people may not relate it. They'll probably think it's okay. You are talking, your own children are abroad, and then you are sending some other children to go and sell akara or stuff like that. But if you go to the rural area and show the optics on the streets, maybe that may have resonated well.
And
so those are the.
And I think to add to that, the point is, it also shows the kind of disconnect that exists between government and the grassroots. Okay, I will even move to say that the government itself look down on these people, because if they are properly assessed their needs, they will, rather than be giving them grants, they will equip them to start the business right away with a little bit of training here and there on how to manage those businesses and grow it to success. So there are lots of things, and I hope that will be the next step. Okay, we've given these people grants. Let's follow up. How well are they doing? In the US, I don't want to be using that as an example because they are having problems of their own now. They have something called SBA, Small Business Administration. It is not being run by government. It is being supported by government. But when you start a business, you reach out to them and they give you everything you need in terms of support, not financial support, but intellectual support, industry support on how to manage your businesses. They are the go-to people when it comes to solving problems. They connect you with industry partners who can help your business grow and all that. Because according to their own statistics, 90% of startups fold up within a year. So some people will come out in Nigeria and say, oh, since this administration came into place, 2 million small businesses have closed down. That is the statistic from the Association of Small Business Enterprises of Nigeria, which is okay. It's normal. Not everybody who starts a business makes a success of it. But a lot of people break even and even grow the business over the years. It depends on a combination of personal skills, personal ability, and an understanding of the economic environment. So I would think that what should follow this brouhaha about akara and kuli-kuli is a focused approach by government to actually formalize this industry sector, street food sector. There are people doing suya, there are people roasting corn. I've even seen people who have this corn roasting machine that can roast about 20 corns at a. I see people stopping along the street, along the highway in Abuja, stopping to buy corn from those roadside corn sellers. And you want to tell me that they don't go through one bag in a day, and one bag, and they are selling one corn for 300 naira.
Yes.
Minimum.
3 for 1,000.
Yeah.
Okay, so how will you tell me that if I go through a bag of 100 corns in a day, I will not go home smiling? it's something we should look at rather than something we should be arguing about.
Very true. Okay, I think we have to come to the end of this topic because we're exceeding our time. Thank you very much to my guests, Mr. Adenira and Mr. Onyegi.
Thank you.
This is Citizen TV. I am Nana Deneji, and have a lovely day.